eyes of the blind. There's no one like you. There's none like you. And into the darkness you shine. Out of the ashes we rise. There's no one like you. There's none like you. Our God is greater. Our God is stronger. God, you are higher than any other. Our God is healer. Awesome in power, our God. Oh, our God. Into the darkness you shine. Out of the ashes we rise. There's no one like you. There's none like you. And our God is greater. Our God is stronger. God, you are higher than any other. Our God is healer. Awesome in power, our God. Oh, our God. And if our God is for us, then who could ever stop us? And if our God is with us, then what could stand against? And if our God is for us, then who could ever stop us? And if our God is with us, then what could stand against? Stand against. Then what can stand against? Oh, what could stand against? Our God is healer. Our God is stronger. God, you are higher than any other. Our God is greater. Awesome in power, our God. Oh, our God. And if our God is for us, then who could ever stop us? And if our God is with us, then what could stand against? And if our God is for us, then who could ever stop us? And if our God is with us, then what could stand against? What could stand against? Could stand against? What could stand against?
Good morning. Wow, wasn't that a powerful worship experience? I am thrilled that I have some of our Lift band members here with me this morning for a couple of reasons. One reason is because I alone don't make up this amazing church by myself. Hundreds of people, and many of you are watching right now, you helped to make this church be what it is today. But the other reason why I asked them to personally come into our home and to sing and to talk and to have a little time together is because I wanted to make sure that you got to know who they are as well. So I have to my right, Miss Dana Harper. Dana's been with us since the very beginning, and she's still rocking with us. And now we have Miss Rachel Francis here to my left, and Rachel is just so talented and so amazing on the guitar, and she teaches guitar. She's just amazing. And I know we might look like we are a trio and that we sing, but we don't. Say amen, somebody.
Yes,
I mean, we
do.
could,
We
but
do.
but
We can.
but we'll say that for next time. And then I also want to mention that we had a special guest with us. If you were listening to the music a moment ago, that's Frank Mocha. And Frank is a percussionist with the renowned Erica Badu, who is a native of Dallas, and she travels all over the world. She's an amazing, amazing entertainer, and Frank typically works with her. But today, we got to borrow Frank, and we're so happy about it. And it's not like I could just call up Erica Badu's percussionist and say, hey, come play at my church. But I have an in. And our in is that Frank is actually engaged to Dana Harper. Yay! Congratulations, he put a ring on it. So we're super excited for them. Ladies, I wanted to talk a little bit today about plans. It's really interesting how we make plans. This past week, I've thought a lot about plans and what's going to be the plan to finally open up the church physically, where we can return back strong and we can return back safe, and that everyone feels secure when they come into the worship gathering experience. So that's been one of my lists of plans. But I've made plans all my life. I've been that girl that's always had a little checklist and always making my plans and dreaming and hoping that they come to be. But what I've learned is that that's not always the case, right? Sometimes we make plans and they change. Sometimes we make plans and they don't turn out exactly like we wanted them to. And sometimes our plan really doesn't line up with God's greater plan. So I was talking to Dana and to Rachel, and I thought, well, you know what? Let's let you guys share a little bit with our church and with those who are our guests today on this Lift Live worship experience. Let's all talk about what it's like to have a plan or to feel that disappointment when you've had a plan. So, Dana, I know that you have a plan to be married, and Dana and I were talking about the wedding date, and I said, hey, so give me the plans, because I'm sure I'm going to be officiating. I'm just saying, maybe not. It's okay if I'm not. But if I am, I need to know what the plans are, so I can, start getting snatched. Say amen, somebody.
Me too. Amen.
So, Dana, what are the plans? What are the plans for the wedding?
Man, well, we had a plan. It was October was going to be the date originally, and I really was still with that. And then I actually talked to a friend of mine who lives in Detroit. Last week we were FaceTiming, and I was telling him about it, and he was like, "So, are you not concerned that with everything that's going on, depending on when the world opens back up, are people going to be ready to get on a plane and travel all the way to Dallas or from wherever?" And I was like, "Oh, I hadn't even thought about that. That wasn't part of my plan originally. I was, it was just so our plans as of right now are to have a nice small little wedding in my sister's backyard in her house in Oak Cliff." Which I'm sure is not going to happen because Frank is Nigerian. Okay. And so he has like
a lot of
19 people. Siblings.
Okay, got it. Yeah.
From there, but so, we have slowly started to, make plans and make sure that things make sense for us. But
right. So not only were we impacted by not being able to go to church, your wedding plans have been impacted as well. Okay.
And all work plans.
Everything.
And all the get, for a lot of people, not just musicians, but because I am a musician and a singer, that's my life. That's how I, pay my bills. So to literally go from like, oh, I have to be at this place at this time to a text message an hour before saying we're closing down, and that's it. And that's been my reality now for 2 months.
Wow.
I keep getting alerts of different gigs on my calendar that I had planned to, and life in an instant, but like you said, well, I'm going to let you speak.
You let me talk about it?
In,
Okay, so put a pin right there.
I got a pin.
So not only has Dana experienced plans being shifted, I know y'all have as well. I'm not the only one. The past couple of weekends I've been talking about what it feels like to have to speak to you from here, from my home, versus actually seeing y'all and hugging on you and shaking hands and high-fiving and all of those good things. That's not happening right now. So that's been different for me. But Rachel and Dana, they sing together in our band at church, but they also work with each other outside of the the church in other musical settings. And so, Rachel, can you talk a little bit about what's life been like for you since COVID-19, and has your plans changed or any things that you've had going on?
Yeah, I mean, there's been so many things. I was going to go to Austin last month with QCF and do a parents retreat, and everybody was going to fly in.
Yeah.
And that got canceled, and yeah, just like everybody else. Lots of moving.
Oh, you were moving?
Yeah, I was going to move on the 30th, and that didn't work out.
Okay.
There's a lot of things that didn't work out.
that changed, right?
Yeah, or being put on hold.
Being put on hold. That's interesting. So, how long have you been playing music? How long have you been doing music?
I mean, I grew up with it. My mother raised us on music. I mean, she's a music teacher, and just always been there.
So you actually went to school for music?
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about that. Where'd you got a degree in music?
I did. I ended up getting a bachelor's in guitar performance.
Okay.
Which was awesome and like the hardest thing I've ever done.
Wow. Yeah, but I'm certain that it may have been hard, but that's been part of the plan.
Yeah.
As you've continued in your career as a professional musician for you, and teaching, I'm certain all of your educational background has helped you in that regard as well, I would imagine.
Yeah, I actually, that was another changed plan. I was going to get a music ed degree.
Okay.
And I was planning on being a school teacher, but I ended up doing the performance route, and that enabled me to do one-on-one lessons, which I ended up loving so much more, I think, than like group settings. So,
group settings.
Yeah, changed plans. Just...
Yeah, you can't wear baseball hats at school either.
No, you sure can't. I can wear them in lessons.
Dana, I know you've been singing a long time, right? You started out as a little girl singing, right?
Yeah, I did music and throughout middle school, high school, and then I went to college for musical theater, and that was it for me. I knew that I was going to be on Broadway, and that was, that was like that was what I had. Yeah, I was, Lion King and Dreamgirls and all these things.
We could be Dreamgirls.
We could be Dreamgirls.
This may not be Broadway, but we could be Dreamgirls.
Come on. Who's who?
Be a Dreamgirls. Okay, anyways. Great movie.
Yes, I love it. Yeah, so that, that was what I had set in my mind as from
Were there
a
ever
teenager.
any disappointments during that time?
Oh, definitely. I moved to New York, went to college in New York, and the whole college experience for me was disappointing. It just, I love New York, and I still go back all the time. But being there in college, and a lot of it, I guess, had to do with the people, and just the environment wasn't what I expected. Yeah. And so that kind of was in my mind at that point more than focusing on music. Okay. So I dropped out of school. I called my mom and I was like, I don't want to do this. Yeah. It's weird, and I couldn't figure it out that way.
Sure.
So that was a big, change of plans for everyone, my family as well, because sending a kid to New York for college is not easy. So yeah, there's been, numerous changes and rerouting and throughout my life and my career, and having to make the decision to okay, well, if you're not going to do musical theater, if you're not going to focus on that and put all your energy into that, then what does that look like? What are the next set of, what's the blueprint now? Because it's always changing, you know.
One of the reasons why I'm actually your pastor today is because my plans changed. I was watching a show the other night with Alex, and the characters in the show were talking about the LSAT. And so Alex was like, what is that? And I said, well, that's the entrance exam that you take to get into law school. And she looked and she said, so why do you know about this? I said, well, because I actually was preparing to take the LSATs. In fact, I'd already taken it, and I was applying to law school when I felt that wasn't the plan any longer. I was in undergraduate, and my family, like yours, had sent me away to college, and the intent was that I was going to come out with this degree and go on to law school and become this great litigator and use my gift of gab and my critical thinking skills and all of that stuff. And probably about 2 months before graduation, I felt this, I call it now a calling. But then I wasn't really sure what it was as a 18-year-old sitting in the library at my school thinking, I just don't know if this is the plan. So I called my dad. I do remember that. I went to the payphone. Yes. Rachel, I know you don't know nothing about this, but I'm old enough to have gone to college when they had payphones, right? So I called my parents collect on the payphone, and Dad said, I said, I have good news and bad news. He's like, so what's the good news? I said, the good news, well, he said, no, give me the bad news. I said, the bad news is that I don't think I'm going to go to law school right after graduation. And he said, okay, well, what's the good news? I said, the good news, I'm still graduating. I'm still going to get a degree, but I don't know that law school is right for me right now. And he said, that's fine. We just need you to graduate. That's the most important part. And so I did. And he gave me 1 year. There was 1 year to get a plan of what you're going to do with your life. Because in his mind, it was that I was going to be an attorney, and that all changed. I thought about that story, y'all, this week as I've been thinking about how plans change in our personal lives, in our lives as a congregation, how in the world things have changed so much. And while we might have made plans, I wonder, when our plans don't match up with God's greater plans, does that cause for greater disappointment, greater frustration? Or is it just disappointing overall to have things change in your life? I want to share with y'all a passage of scripture. It's one of my favorites, and I've committed it to memory, and I invite you to do the same. But it's something you've probably heard before. It's found in Jeremiah chapter 29 in the Old Testament. And it is God speaking through this prophet named Jeremiah. Not Jeremiah was a bullfrog, not that. This Jeremiah here in the Bible. And here's what happens, y'all. So he's talking to the children of Israel who've been exiled into Babylon. They've been taken from Jerusalem, and they've been placed in Babylon. And can you imagine how their plans have changed, right? So their lives have changed. Everything about them has changed. And so he gives them this message from God. And God reminds them, listen, I know you're not where you normally would be. I know things aren't how they normally are. But don't let that stop you. In fact, the message from God goes on to say, don't let that stop you from getting married or from building your home or from working if you still need to work where you are, or to be educated wherever you are. Don't let those things stop just because you're not where you thought you might be. But here's the verse that really kind of kicks it up a notch for me. In verse 10, chapter 29, it says this. This is what the Lord says. When 70 years are completed for Babylon, when you've been in Babylon for 70 years, I will come to you and fulfill my good promise to bring you back to this place, back to what you've known. And here's the key verse. For I know the plans that I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you. Plans that won't cause harm to you. Plans to give you a hope and a future. Wow. Did I need to hear that right now? And I feel like we all need to be reminded of that. Yeah, things are kind of turned upside down right now and not like we've wanted it to be, but that doesn't stop anything, because God's greater plan is that God still knows what is best for us. God still has something that's good for us. God still wants what is great for us in our lives, in our relationships, in our careers, in our relationship even with God. So I want to share something else with you. Not only have I been reading a lot in the Bible, of course, I've read a lot of the Word here recently, but I've also listened to a lot of really good podcasts. Are y'all podcast listeners? Y'all like podcasts? Okay. What do you like? The Bible for Normal People. That's a good one. Yeah, that's a good one. What? Any particulars? Anything? Ratchet stuff. Okay, so anyways, back to the Bible. Okay, so here is something that I do check out a lot of political stuff. I like to lean in and kind of know what's happening or where the thinking is in the world regarding politics and economics and parenting. I listen to a lot of stuff about parenting, and a lot of about how to be a better me, right? Just whether it's the Bible or whether it's someone else's input about how to be a better person. And one of my favorites right now is Brene Brown. I don't know if y'all are familiar with her. If you don't know her, get to know her, honey. Google her, bookmark her. She is thetruth.com, for real. And so Brene Brown is an amazing writer and teacher and facilitator, but she started a new podcast right at the time when Corona was being running rampant across the world, right? And so she had all in her mind what she thought her podcast was going to be. But the very first one, she just kind of talked about the reality of what it felt like for her, because plans had changed. What she had in mind wasn't really happening. And so I jotted down some notes from Brene's first podcast, and it is called the FFTs. FFTs. Mm-hmm. Now, because I'm a nice lady, I'm not going to say what the word is, but you can look it up. But it's an acronym for the first time. The reality is this. Here's what it's about. She talks about what it feels like to have to pivot, what it feels like to have to change plans, and then do something that you have never done before, something that you're having to do for the first time. I can recall the first time that we launched Lift and what that felt like. And while I'd had a plan in my mind of what planning a church would be like, I never really had an idea of what the community, the congregation would look like. And boy, was my mind blown, right, by the variety of people who are a part of this community and who found this church to be a safe place where they can engage with God and engage with others and connect with God and connect with others, and where they can feel a sense of security and feel a sense of forgiveness. Dana had no clue who we were. We were new, and she didn't know what we were about, and yet you gave us a try.
Yeah, it had been a long time. I had been without a church home for a long time.
Okay.
Yeah, and so sitting down with you, I think, was very important for me to be able to, like Rachel said, understand, what is this? What is this? Yeah, and I haven't had any I don't have any plans of leaving.
Well, I'm glad you said that. Thank God. So I've continued to think about all of those very first times, the first times I've met many of you, the first time I preached for Lift, the first time we did outreach, all of those first times. And as I was listening to Brene Brown's podcast, it really helped me to process through it. And I really hope that you will process through what are some of your first times that are scary, and how do you manage through them, keeping in mind that God's greater plan for your life is for your good, right? So here's what Brene Brown offers to us. She says this. She says, sometimes doing something for the first time can be really scary. It can actually feel abnormal. It can be uncomfortable, and you will not want to do it. But when you keep it in, when you normalize it, when you say what it is and normalize it, then it doesn't have this big monstery feel, right? Like for me, talking on camera was literally the monster under my bed that I didn't want to do. But I've had to come to understand that I still want to be able to reach people with God's love, whether I'm physically at 3015 or whether I'm here in my home or wherever we are. And so this was an FFT for me. But I feel like God is still allowing us the opportunity to connect with others, right?
Mm-hmm,
right?
Mm-hmm.
So here's the second thing she says. She says to put it into perspective, right? So while we can't go out everywhere like we have in the past, and that can be really weird and strange and sad, we can still do other things, right? So what are those other things for you that you can keep in perspective? While it is really sad that thousands of people have lost their lives and that hundreds of thousands are sick because of this disease, here's something that we can put in perspective. there are amazing healthcare workers, right? A lot of them are people in our church who are getting up and showing up and are really there for people in a time of need in the hospitals, right? You guys have continued to play great music. I really believe that music is one of God's tools to bring healing and happiness to people's lives and joy. So how are you keeping it into perspective? And then here was the third thing that she says: use the perspective to reality check our expectations. Right? So I can recall 2 months ago, I expected to shelter in place for 1 week. Right? But I didn't really have a clear reality check on what this pandemic was going to look like and how it was really going to impact so many people and so many lives. And but now that I do, that's helped to manage my expectations, right? And so I offer that the same is true for you, whether it's your wedding or whether it's you getting new students or whether it's you being a part of any of the other organizations or work that you're doing in the community, or whether it's the church work, whatever it is. My hope is that you will keep it in perspective and reality check it, right? And I'm going to go a step further. Reality check it against what God's greater plan is for your life. Because God says it, and it's true, that God has a plan. Even though our plans might go awry, God's plans won't. And when we can trust God and truly honor what God might want for our lives, then I truly believe that is the better version of what it means to live life fully. I get it. Some of you are sitting there and you're taking notes and you're like, I don't know what God's plan is for my life. Well, I wish I could tell you. I don't know it either specifically. But what I do know is God. And my invitation for you is this: the more you stay in relationship with God and connected with who God is and who God desires for you to be, I believe the more that plan will become a reality for your life. So that's what I pray for you this week, that you will go into this week thinking about what are some of the things that I had disappointments over. I had some sadness. I had some frustrations. And I want you to consider pivoting, right? I want you to go ahead and process through the FFTs, but consider, what is God's greater plan? What is it? And how can you actually live it? Because we all have an assignment, every last one of us. There's a reason why you're still here breathing on this earth. So my hope is that you'll figure it out. That's really what I wanted to share with y'all today. I didn't have a big, long dissertation that I wanted to offer. I just wanted to sit and chat with some of my girls and talk about what's really been on our hearts and let you know a little bit about who we are and why we do what we do. And that's because God has called us to it, and we love God and we love you. So I just pray that this next set of music, you'll continue to listen. Don't click off yet, because I promise you, you're going to be blessed. And get this is your chance to sing as loud as you want, right? You can lift your hands as high as you want, or don't. Okay, Dana says send her videos of you singing loudly, or you lifting your hands, or just sitting back. Maybe you're going to use a bowl as your drum. It doesn't matter, because what we know is that God is here with us, and God is for us, and we hope you're lifted.
Walking around these walls, I thought by now they'd fall, but you have never failed me yet. Waiting for change to come, knowing the battle's won, for you have never failed me yet. promise still stands. Great is your faithfulness, your faithfulness. I'm still in your hands. This is my confidence. You never failed me yet. I know the night won't last. Your word will come to pass. My heart will sing your praise again. Oh Jesus, you're still enough. Keep me within your love. My heart will sing your praise again. Promise, oh, your promise still stands. Great is your faithfulness, your faithfulness. I'm still in your hands. This is my confidence. You never fail me. Oh, the promise still stands. Great is your faithfulness, your faithfulness. I'm still in your hands. This is my confidence. You've never failed me yet. Oh, you've never failed me yet. I'm so faithful, you never fail me. I've seen you move. I've seen you move. Come move a mountain, and I believe I'll see you do it again. You made a way when there was no way, and I believe I'll see you do it again. I've seen you move. Go move a mountain, and I believe I'll see you do it again. You made a way where there was no way, and I believe I'll see you do it again. I've seen you move. Come move a mountain, and I believe I'll see you do it again. You made a way where there was no way. I believe I'll see you do it again. Oh, I see you do it again. See you do it again. The promise still stands. Great is your faithfulness, your faithfulness. I'm still in your hands. This is my confidence. You've never failed me yet. From the highest of heights to the depths of the sea, creation revealing your majesty. From the colors of fall to the fragrance of spring, every creature unique in the song that it sings, all exclaiming, indescribable, uncontainable. You place the stars in the sky and you know them by name. You are amazing, God. All powerful, untamable, awestruck we fall to our knees as we humbly proclaim. You are amazing, God. You are amazing, God. Who was told every lightning bolt where it should go? Or seen heavenly storehouses laden with snow? Who imagined the sun and gives source to its light, yet conceals it to bring us the coolness of night? None can fathom, indescribable, uncontainable. You place the stars in the sky and you know them by name. You are amazing, God. All powerful, untamable, awestruck we fall to our knees as we humbly proclaim. You are amazing, God. You are amazing, God. You are amazing, God. Indescribable, uncontainable. You place the stars in the sky and you know them by name. You are amazing, God. Oh, all powerful, untamable, awestruck we fall to our knees as we humbly proclaim. You are amazing, God. You are amazing, God. You are amazing, God.
I am so glad that you had the opportunity to worship with us this morning and to sit and be a part of our conversation. And I really hope that you were lifted. And I hope, more importantly, that you'll continue to tune in, or once we're back together again, that you'll come out and worship with us in person. But until then, I want you to know that we will continue to do what God has called us to do, continue to be a light here in the city of Dallas and beyond. If you'd love to partner with us and to continue to help this ministry move forward, you can go to our website to offer your donations or your tithes or your offerings or your gifts. If you want to volunteer as we get started back, this is another way that you can do so online. Register to be a volunteer. Or maybe you just want to be a part of our small groups or any of our Bible studies. Again, go to our website, liftcommunitychurch.org, and you'll be able to find out exactly what you need there. Even if you just want to shoot me an email and say, hey, Pastor, it's so good to see you. I'd love to hear from you. But until next time, I hope that you know that God loves you and I love you, and there is nothing you can do about it. Have a blessed week. We'll see you soon.